We are going to move on now to Corey Lynn with LVX Systems.
Hello and welcome to LVX System and the LVX System of Companies. My name is Corey Lynn, CEO of LVX System. Imagine for a moment a building, say a school, with a network of lights that not only illuminate, but communicate with each other and the devices within the room through a wireless signal that uses the same photons to illuminate free space. The light fixtures have edge computing power. The network is equipped with cameras, speakers, and microphones. And this same network is also integrated with the physical premise security system. This network disables certain features on phones like cameras or microphones in areas they are not to be used like bathrooms, locker rooms, or during classroom sessions, all performed wirelessly and safely. Imagine further, wearable glasses with built-in speakers and microphones, wirelessly connected to the lights in the ceiling that are providing, through visible light communication, the necessary data throughput to have all the students in that classroom and the classroom next to it, and all of the classrooms in that school building have a 3D experience in real space of anywhere in the world, or even in space. Imagine these wearable glasses can replace the need for your telephone, television, computer, and even stereo system. This is the future of the LVX System of Companies. Again, my name is Corey Lynn, CEO of LVX System, the parent company of the LVX System of Companies. And that imagination will be possible with the now commercialized LVX Li-Fi platform. Few people in the world could have imagined something as I just described, but our founder, Felicity John Peterson, did many years ago and has been awarded 55 patents to ensure LVX would be able to participate in the creation of a whole new ecosystem of wireless communication through visible light. Bidirectional visible light communication, also known as light fidelity or Li-Fi, was invented and patented in the United States by Felicity John Peterson. Our LVX lights use LEDs that modulate faster than the unaided human eye can detect. Thus, with the same photons used for lighting a given space, the LVX Li-Fi platform provides a physically safe, highly secure, wireless communication option to send and receive data. Let's take a moment and revisit a time when two astronauts graced us with their presence to launch the LVX Li-Fi platform at our corporate headquarters at the Astronaut Memorial Foundation located at Kennedy Space Center.
Welcome to NASA here at our offices where we are beginning the illumination ceremony for the lights here in the ceiling, LVX service. And joining us today is Colonel Lausma.
Glad to join you, John.
Good to have you, Jack, here. Yes, I appreciate you guys coming. John McBride, good to meet you too. Two astronauts from NASA going to push the button and launch this service.
Number two.
Should we have a countdown?
3, 2, 1.
Now, with 55 awarded patents, all irrevocably licensed to LVX System and pertaining to the Li-Fi technology, the business model, and the use of Li-Fi with services and features like bidirectional communication in free space, device enabling and disabling, human inventory capturing, facial recognition door strikes, GPS routing systems, and Li-Fi enabled wearable glasses, just to name a few. We are ready to, at no upfront capital cost to the customer, install a new lighting experience and a freestanding network we call the LVX Li-Fi platform. To be clear, our patent portfolio is not intended to prevent others from developing or participating with LVX in the new Li-Fi ecosystem. Rather, our patents are to protect our entry and our participation in the developed and yet to be developed markets our utility-like service offering and the Li-Fi platform can and will integrate with. Our utility-like service model nearly eliminates all future maintenance and future costs for upgrades of the lighting experience through the length of the contract. The LVX Li-Fi platform also provides a new ecosystem for developers, engineers, technicians, and future visionaries to bring to market enhanced cyber and premise security services and features. This same ecosystem will exponentially enhance the bandwidth of wireless connectivity. According to Cable Labs, the difference between Wi-Fi throughput and Li-Fi throughput is comparable to the difference in mass of the Earth for Wi-Fi throughput to the Sun for Li-Fi throughput, potentially enhancing beyond current comprehension the virtual training and gaming experience of the future. LVX aspires to be the rebirth of the Bell system with new technology. LVX thus had to solve the riddle of how to roll out an infrastructure such as our LVX Li-Fi platform with such established giants of product sellers in the lighting industry like Philips, GE Lighting, a Savant company, Cree, and Panasonic, where the total market size of these entities is slightly under $40 billion in the United States annually. And let's not forget about the American-based telecommunication and wireless Goliaths like AT&T, Verizon, Charter, Comcast, T-Mobile, and CenturyLink. These 6 companies alone combine for nearly $500 billion in annual revenue. There's no doubt we'll be susceptible during our period of growth, but we feel ready to enter the battle, find our strategic partners in both lighting and telecommunications, and compete for market share in lighting and soon into telecommunications too. And that's because our business model allows us to build out the networking platforms at no capital cost to the customer. It's free lighting installs with immediate operating cost savings over fluorescent lights, while our patents and our Li-Fi platform will allow us to develop and/or license new increased revenue sources through the use of our networks by our customers and our strategic partners. It is a unique approach to building a network across the entire country. Unlike cell phone towers that require telecommunication usage to generate revenue, for example, our network platform, through the installation of a free lighting enhancement, generates revenue, thus paying for itself, regardless of telecommunication services being utilized by our customers. Upon activation of the LVX Li-Fi platform, LVX will have access to cash today from contractually obligated recurring revenue streams through the use of lockbox financing with our established banking partners. Let's take a moment to hear from one of our customers.
We haven't had any issues with the lights that we've used, or the lights from the data or from the light itself. We've been very reliable and have not had an issue at all.
By applying lockbox financing in the early stages of our commercialization launch in Florida and Minnesota, LVX can be cash flow positive through the installation of 5.5 to 6 million illuminated square feet, which can be attained in 2021. For reference, in just one of our initial target markets of public K-12 school districts, Florida has over 425 million square feet, and Minnesota has over 125 million square feet. That's over 550 million square feet of K-12 public school district buildings, and LVX would need less than 1% of that to cash flow positive. The percentage of market share needed to be cash flow positive just in the states of Florida and Minnesota becomes even smaller when you add our other ideal customers like private K-12 schools, colleges and universities, cities, counties, healthcare facilities, government agencies, and the armed forces. We believe that by reducing their energy usage, providing a better lighting experience to their students, staff, and visitors, and saving them money without having to spend any money up front, we too are ideal for them. At a national level, U.S. government data shows there is over 88 billion square feet of commercial buildings across the country. to cash flow positive, LVX needs less than 7/1,000th of 1% of the nation's illuminated square footage. Current projections show at 2% of the total national market, LVX will generate over $500 million in annual revenue. The amount of operating capital projected to attain a cash flow positive state of the business is less than $15 million, which we are actively working to raise. Why is this important? Simply, if LVX System is not able to sustain being a viable commercial entity, our passion and desire for continued engagements with NASA, the federal government, and the armed forces of the United States of America, along with law enforcement, cannot sustain either. Having already completed successfully a Space Act agreement with NASA, as well as issuing a master license for visible light communication with the U.S. government that has led to multiple patents ready to be filed, we feel ready to repeat that objective as we go forward. Through the use of our mock orbital shuttle Inspiration, currently parked near the control tower of the shuttle landing facility at Kennedy Space Center, LVX System will develop the Inspiration Lab for continued research, engineering, and development of aerospace utilization of the LVX Li-Fi platform. For example, the LVX Li-Fi platform would not likely be a standalone communication system during space travel, but as a redundant sidecar wireless communication system that can reduce the weight of the vehicle at liftoff by using broadband over power line, while also eliminating the harmful radiation that comes from radio frequency waves that are exacerbating the elements of space, all while providing our astronauts a healthy lighting experience during their travel. It would appear to be a viable choice for consideration as that redundant communication system and primary lighting source for human space travel. Space, of course, is not just about what goes up and what occurs when it gets into space. There's also the ancillary ground services the LVX Li-Fi platform can integrate with. NASA and private enterprise buildings could also utilize the LVX Li-Fi platform for primary lighting and as a redundant, secure, wireless communication system. The platform, utilizing Li-Fi with cameras and through the use of edge computing, will be able to track high-value equipment, tooling, and personnel. The requirement of no radio frequency waves will no longer prevent the presence of a wireless communication system in sensitive or secure locations when the LVX Li-Fi platform is considered. The team at LVX System has evolved over the course of 10 years. Today, as we transition from an R&D phase into a focused commercialization launch, it may surprise some that we currently no longer have any PhDs on staff. At this time, LVX contracts the electrical and mechanical engineering needed to put our proven technology into new form factors for commercial use. The LVX team does have decades of experience in telecommunications, energy, security, and aerospace. Yet we are still at the ground floor for engagement opportunities within our business operations. Areas of finance, sales, network engineering, software, and product development have significant growth opportunities at LVX System today. The R&D to commercialize is complete. Now the business must launch. Along with our founder, who's been a pioneer of LED development and application, and relationships established and yet to be established with federal agencies, the armed forces, colleges and universities, and private partners, the further development of Li-Fi will be driven by LVX, our customers' needs, and our founder's visionary mind. At LVX System, we believe we have the potential for billions of dollars in recurring revenue as we deploy, again at no capital cost to customers, a new wireless communication platform. As we do the continued collaborative development with agencies like NASA, the Armed Forces of the United States, and the federal agencies of the United States government, will continue to enhance the applications in space, aviation, cybersecurity, and premise security. Thank you for your time and consideration of the LVX system of companies and the LVX Li-Fi platform.
All right, let's get into questions. Peter, we'll start with you. Okay. There we go.
I'm just trying to understand the unique new applications for the agency. I mean, you already have a partnership with Kennedy, and I could see those examples where you currently have rolled out this capability, but where are the kind of unique areas that are pushing the edge or that's really novel to for your application?
That's a great question, Peter. Appreciate it. At this time, I would say that that would be something we'd want to work through with NASA to find out. I feel that building and premise security is one of those areas. Our Space Act agreement revolved around the use of cameras, speakers, and microphones with the human inventory tracking, with the ability to be able to keep tabs on where high-valued equipment materials, things of that nature, all while not needing to utilize Wi-Fi or even telecommunications in that standpoint. The fact that it is a network is one great opportunity that we see here, but are very open to learning more about how the NASA teams all across the country would be able to utilize the platform for their specific needs.
Okay. I mean, I could see eclectic niche areas possibly for robotic spacecraft or other things in other unique environments. But let's discuss it at the impact table.
I look forward to that. Thank you.
All right, Harry.
Very nice presentation. A couple of questions. First is to connect my computer to or my mobile device to your system. Do I need any special hardware or is it already configured?
That's a great question, Harry. I have in front of me what we refer to as our client key. This has a standard USB port that can be used for devices. Also, though not currently enabled, a standard smartphone does have the necessary features with the LED in the back and the camera. The software to be able to do that is able to be provided to manufacturers of cell phones by LVX. So again, with this particular client key that we have here, which we are working to re-engineer into further form factors, that would be the means by which we would establish connectivity with devices.
Okay, the next question comes up is security. How do you address security? Is it different than how you do Wi-Fi, or people can intercept the light easier than they can Wi-Fi?
That's a very interesting way to look at it, and I appreciate that, Harry. I have behind me, right above me, one of our form factors. It is a 2x2 fixture. For someone to be able to steal the signal that would be communicating down from that, they would have to physically walk in and be present to me to be able to capture that signal. They would have to physically place a device to be able to capture that underneath that. Now, with my camera and my physical presence here and all the people watching with me, I'm pretty sure we would be able to detect that someone was doing that. The light also does stay within the room. And so it does not transmit outside of obviously physical space. So we feel very comfortable that although anything is possible, of course, when it comes to individuals trying to do harmful and dangerous activities with our security, that we offer a platform that is able to enhance, if not come close to eliminate any types of cybersecurity concerns.
Does it only work with visible light, or can it be different frequencies? So, for instance, if you're reading at night and you don't have your lights on, you lose your internet connection?
Another great question, Harry. Thank you so much. We are able to dim the lights lower than the human eye would be able to detect while still sustaining a connection with our wireless communication.
Very much.
Thank you.
All right, Ramona, let's go to you.
Yes, I heard mention of the fluorescent lights that are used. Is that an actual limitation, or is it any sort of light, especially LEDs, which are so common these days?
Great question, Ramona, and thank you for the opportunity to clarify. Right now, the low-hanging fruit for us is to be a replacement for fluorescents that are still being used. Though we have a competitive proposal for customers who currently are using LEDs, we are not targeting them initially out of the gates. We are instead looking to find areas within our ideal target base that are using fluorescence and being a part of their transition from fluorescence over to LEDs. Our communication only uses light emitting diodes for providing the wireless service.
Okay. Connected to that, I'm still trying to understand some of this technology. I did see where the physical range the range could be beyond just vis into UV and IR. That was not the impression I got from this presentation, but that's something I read. So how far, I think Harry asked about the range, can it go beyond visible?
Yes, we are actively working on getting not only to the UV, but to far UVC for some of the safety and health of benefits that can provide. The technology from visible light communication, as well as the full range of the spectrum, I would have to defer to our engineering team to be able to further get into that, which we may be able to do tomorrow during the further dive questioning.
Okay, and one last question. I understand that other sources of light may interfere with the signal, so how have you dealt with that? Even, I guess, sunlight coming in through the window. How does that interfere with things?
Yes, that is a very fair question. We see no interference or diminishing of our signal from sunlight. As an example, the modulation is able to be detected. It does kind of, the analogy that I've been told that I like the most is it's kind of like listening to a person talk in a room of screaming individuals, but it is attainable, and it has been proven to work both internally within a building and also externally. We don't talk about this in our presentation. We do have patents, though, that protect us for when we go outside of buildings into outdoor space.
Thank you. I'll let others ask questions.
Thank you, Ramona.
Great. Let's go to Sherman.
Yes. How are you doing? Two questions. So do you need a clear line of sight between, let's say, that smartphone device that you just showed and the device up in the light fixture? Almost like you would a remote with a TV, remote control with a TV?
Another great question, Sherman. Thank you. We would prefer that. Okay, we would prefer that, but we have been able to bounce our signal around a corner to be able to sustain streaming 2 separate movies off of the internet. There is some reflective qualities, which again opens up a Pandora's box as to the material that it would be reflecting off of as far as the signal strength that would be able to occur. Now, what we are also able to do is assist people in understanding that lights don't always, of course, need to be in the ceiling. Right, and so that could be another opportunity for us to get source for the signal to be transmitted.
Got it. And then the second question is a standard regular individual able to install your device with the light, or do you all have to install yourselves?
No, that's one of the beautiful things that we've done here is we're looking to partner with both union and non-union electrical contractors. This is a very simple installation. Our 2x4 fixture, for example, is very similar to a retrofit. Replace the established ballast with an LVX driver, install our lights. Fixture installation is very similar as well. This is very entry-level work for established electrical contractors. It's one of our very significant stakeholders that we see as we go to market across the country.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, Cheryl.
So I have some experience in real estate tech, and the mantra we've always said is never ever sell to K-12 in the United States. And so I'm curious why, you're laughing. So why did you pick K-12, and why wouldn't you instead just go for commercial real estate, landlords, which love to save $1 more than anyone else in the entire world?
It's a great question, and I kind of smirk because of the battle scars from the attempt to do so. The reason is because the lockbox financing is so important to us to not fully need to be dependent upon equity sale for commercializing this project. We're after high credit rating, and schools they pay their bills. Cities, they pay their bills. So we understand that it is a much bigger fight than going into tenant-occupied space. And being able to reduce the operating costs on a per square foot basis. But we feel that it's worth going after because of the fact that it is so important to how we are going to finance the rollout of this infrastructural apparatus across the country.
Does that mean that your margins are low? Because usually a higher number of clients with poor credit's fine if you have lower margins. What do those look like?
Our entry-level margins are low. It is pretty much break even, 4 to 7 year rate of return on the investment that we make, depending upon our most significant driver of cost of service is going to be a kilowatt. And so that's where the free install is based on a land grab. Okay, that we want a land grab. The margins come when we start bundling services and features on top of that. The infrastructure, the capitalized assets will already be in the building. Thus, the addition of services and features have very high margins. And as we go forward and look to lower our kilowatt hour rate, whether through partnerships with power companies and providers or through the installation of renewable energy installations on site, any reduction in kilowatt hour cost to LVX is pretty straight down to the bottom line.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, let me ask a question. Wi-Fi is pretty easy to install. And so you're really competing with people who want to install Wi-Fi. And at least during COVID, my rate limiting transmission step is the internet provider coming into my house, not the Wi-Fi within the house. How does this compare? So what does that say for your business plan? How do you address that?
Well, it's a great question. We do not see ourselves as a competitor of Wi-Fi. We see ourselves as complementary. We see ourselves as an additional option, which is why we have to make the business model make sense based on being a primary lighting source before we get into being solely dependent upon visible light communication. The other thing that we look to do is to identify that, again, because every single light fixture, every single LVX light becomes a data point, we are able to replicate our speeds over and over and over again. So again, when we talk about the redefinition of speed, it's going to be exactly what you talked about, Harry. It's going to be about the speed coming into the building, not necessarily the speed coming out of an individual light.
Go ahead, Max.
I was going to say there was a question about interference from sunlight. I'm just curious, and this is just ignorance on my part. If there's you presumably got lots and lots of these lights in an individual space. Do they interfere with each other?
That is a great question. At this time, no, they do not interfere with each other. Each of our lights ends up being its own individual IP because they are CNC controlled, and so the device is able to know which one it's connected to, which ones it's talking to. Great question. And again, another analogy I'd like to just quickly share is if we were to take a candle and we were to hold it outside even during the day, we can still see the candle. I apologize, that may be another simple way to understand how this can work also outside. Richard, I saw your hand was up if there's still time.
Yeah, Richard?
Yeah, I'll jump in if he's not ready.
What's the actual range of the device? I mean, how far away can you pick up this signal? We talked about frequency, but how far away could I get and still get a signal?
Yes, that's a great question, and that's going to come down very much so to the form factor that we are utilizing. And so with a high-powered flashlight, for example, we've been able to attain very long speeds. City blocks have been able to be attained as we look to keep a focus on eventually getting outside of buildings as well. So it's very dependent upon again upon the form factor. Inside of a building, we don't obviously pursue that. When we go outside, we recognize that we're going to want to get to city blocks, and then we're going to want to get to miles. And eventually we'll want to integrate into even over-the-horizon type communications through visible light communication.
Roger that.
All right. Thank you so much.
Peter, so Corey, I was intrigued by in your examples in the video that there were that there were like these transducers or whatever you're calling them every like 5 or 6 square meters. It seemed like a lot more than I would envision. How many do you optimally need, and how many can you get by with as few as possible?
That's absolutely a wonderful question. That was a form factor that we have developed and taken out into our beta sites. We're able to get by with, for example, 1 or 2 in a room, depending on where the occupant wants them to be located. So in that visual that you saw, and the visual you see behind me, the receiver, which is also, again, just this part right here, that's built into every single form factor. We've since pivoted to now where that's outside of the form factor. And so we're able to place those wherever our specific clients need, thus providing them also the flexibility because, as we know, people sometimes like to change where their desk is.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much. Max, back to you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Corey.